This is how they're planning to take everything and fulfill their declaration that you will own nothing and be happy about it. You've probably heard it by now, the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum, all of the BS that is going on in our world definitely has an end game. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about how they plan to do that, specifically a documentary that I think every human being should watch. It's called The Great Taking, and it is by David Rogers Webb. It's phenomenal. It's an hour and 11 minutes long. The link is in the description down below. But in this video, I'm going to share with you my takeaways and some highlights from this documentary so that you can be more informed. Knowledge is power, especially in the world that we live in right now today, where there are major things going on, my friend. If you get any value from this video, please leave me a thumbs up. That helps the algorithm. Comment down below with something of value to share with the group, or share a resource, or whatever you want. Just comment if you feel so inclined. So I heard about this video from Laura Abilene, and she was being interviewed on Brighteon. I forget the gentleman's name that was interviewing her. I think he may be the founder of Brighteon, but it is a fantastic interview. I'll also put that interview down below, and I highly recommend you checking that out too. She's super inspirational. She's also talking about the whole transhumanism agenda and all the BS surrounding that. But in this interview, not only was she sharing phenomenal information in general, but she talked about this book by David Rogers Webb. And also I found that there's a documentary. The book's like 3 hours long. It's also available on YouTube. You could listen to the whole thing, but this documentary was phenomenal. And that's what I watched. I'm going to talk about that in this video. So here, let's just run through some of my notes that I took about this. I will say this before I start. The first half I found to be pretty dry. It's not that bad, but it does. I think they should have flipped the script and put the second half in the beginning to really hook people. It does hook people at the very first, but then it gets a little dry because it's talking about financial vehicles and concepts and things like that. And a lot of that stuff is, for me, and I feel many people, a little bit over their head. This guy was a financial guy, right? He worked on Wall Street. He worked in hedge funds. He's super smart. But what he realized, he discovered that the Fed was influencing financial markets before anyone thought they could do that. And he couldn't talk about this with his colleagues because they thought he was crazy. Now we know they do that. Now I guess it's common knowledge they do that because they pump so much money, artificial money, into the system to keep it, afloat, that it's common knowledge that they can influence markets. What he noticed was the money creation was outstripping economic growth. Like, it was the only thing that was growing in the economy, right? And that was over 20 years ago that he realized this. This is a wild statement. He said the velocity of money, which is the amount of money that's being exchanged in the market, is lower than it was during the Great Depression. And you'll hear about that in the movie. Let's see what else I have here. He basically dug in and did a lot of research and found some really systemic problems with the money system in the world, not just the United States, but the world. And it's not very healthy, to put it mildly. But the real information comes when he discovered in 2005 that there was a change to the bankruptcy law that will allow, if it doesn't get changed in time, will allow the big money lenders, right? I'm talking maybe the people, definitely the private central banks, or even if there is another layer above the private central banks, right? The big banks, to take everything in the case of a total financial collapse. And it was done through the Uniform Commercial Code, okay? And that's where the big problem arises. And that was a change that was made in 2005, which we need to fix that. And this book, his book, The Great Taking, and this documentary is gaining some traction. I think a lot of people are seeing it because what he said, there's only a few people at the top that are going to have a seat at the table. A lot of other people that are still very wealthy, still very influential and powerful right now today, will not have a seat at that table. And it's those people, the people that can get shit done, that can make these kind of changes, that can stop this from happening, that I think are going to be the most pissed off, and they have the ability, right? These are powerful, influential people. Once they realize they don't have a seat at the table, that these, quote unquote elites, which I hate that word, are trying to create, hopefully they'll get pissed off and say, hey, you're not going to do that this way. Because like he says in the movie, yes, rich people are special. Uber rich people are special. That's why they're going to save you for dessert, right? No, nobody but a very small handful of people will get out of this bullshit if it does go down this way. I have faith that it doesn't. That's why I'm sharing this video, sharing this knowledge, recommending that you go check out this documentary. It's the best hour you will ever invest in 2024, bar none, guaranteed, because we cannot have the financial collapse and it go their way. That cannot be allowed. But he said, yeah, the very influential people, they are special. They'll eat them for dessert last. So there it is. So it's already planned. There has even been, between the FDIC, all of the central banks, right? The Federal Reserve, all of that stuff has already done test procedures to make sure that this goes off as planned by the WEF and those people. And that's super sketch, right? If it happens the way they want it to happen, which again, we don't think that way, securities and assets could be, are planned to be swept up by these bankers, right? Because they're essentially on the books, so to speak, and used as collateral in all sorts of different ways that the layperson is not privy to. Definitely stocks and bonds and securities could go, even things like your car and your home, if you don't have proper titles and if there are certain liens and they're used in collateral in different ways, or if they're on the books in some way. It's very complicated to understand. That's why I encourage people to do their own research. Don't take what I'm saying to heart, because it's very complex. Let's see what else. Pension funds are not protected. They basically want to take all the securities from people, which are stocks and bonds. And, again, they changed the laws in the Uniform Commercial Code over the years in all 50 states. See, there was this kind of thought process, and I thought this too, that if the federal government collapses, the states can just pick up the pieces, but that may not be the case in this situation until we get it fixed. All this has been done legally, and so it has to be dismantled legally. He was very adamant about that. Now, let me just talk a little bit about this. As I said, the second half gets really good. That starts about 40 minutes in, and then the second half is just wild. He talks about all of the power, the way power is structured in our world. It's all financial. He talks about wars. He talks about all of the shit that we all know is going on, but he lays it out in a very nice way. And also the importance of spreading awareness about this message. And he thinks we're very close. He thinks we're very close to the collapse being triggered, and that's why we have to be super on it. So that is my review and some summary highlights from The Great Taking by David Rogers Webb, an hour and 11-minute documentary on YouTube. I'll put the link to all the stuff that I talked about in the description down below. Good luck. Go watch it. It's phenomenal. Leave me a thumbs up if you like this video, and I will talk to you in the next one. Until next time, all the best, health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.